Welcome my friends to another video on my channel. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad to see you, and today we're covering something that's gonna save you years potentially of time and frustration, because we're going to cover the top 5 mistakes that most beginners, almost every student that I work with one-to-one has these mistakes in the beginning, and I work hard to get them them corrected, right? These mistakes, these top 5 beginner mistakes that are probably happening to you, that are keeping you from making faster progress, more enjoyable progress, more efficient progress. Something like when you've made feel like your hands just aren't matching up, your hands aren't syncing, right? Or maybe you feel like your left hand can't keep up with your right, or your right can't keep up with your left. Or maybe your left hand gets tired while playing, or maybe you just can't remember what to play. All of these aspects can be easily fixed, and we're gonna do just that. So that after the video, if you really take the time to watch it all the way through, you're going to be able to save so much time and frustration that you would have had otherwise in your journey of becoming a really good Boogie Woogie player, right? So in the future, you're gonna save that regret of looking back and practicing with the wrong technique and ingraining negative mind-muscle connections, and you're gonna save that pain of looking back with regret if you do watch this video to the end, right? Because these are very, very important and often overlooked, and especially the fourth one that I'm gonna cover, super important, and I'm gonna show you also very nice exclusive little exercises for each of these mistakes so that you can program them out of you. And if you want help with that, like with programming these bad habits potentially out of you, click the link in my description, because I have a one-to-one program where I do focus on really turning people into really good Boogie Woogie players like myself, so I can help you with that too. But nonetheless, let's get into the mistake number 1. So mistake number 1, guys, is neglecting hand independence. And you might be thinking, well, you're not neglecting it because it's the hardest part of your journey so far, which it probably is, right? Your hand independence might be the thing that's holding you back from progressing faster in your journey. But the thing is, oftentimes, students know that they are struggling with hand independence, but they're still neglecting the things that they should do to get over the hand independence issue, right? Neglecting the hand independence, there's 3 aspects. So firstly, slow down, because by speeding up, by having your tempo be too fast, you're actually neglecting your hand independence because you're too fast, and that tenses you all up, and it makes you ingrain wrong techniques, and it doesn't allow you to focus on gaining hand independence if you're too fast. So the first thing to avoid this mistake is really just to slow down your practice, to slow down your playing as well. The second thing that you must do to overcome hand independence, specific exercises, all right? I myself have 3 or 4 videos of hand independence exercises, so I'll link them in the description. You can do them, but what I want you to actually do is focus on only one exercise. You take one baseline, for example this Boogie Woogie baseline, and you do one of the exercises that we're going to look into really quick. So the exercise is pretty simple. You're just gonna take the baseline that you want to get hand independent at, and you're gonna play different rhythms in the right hand with your chords. This is also from my video. It's one of the best hand independence exercises. For example, you're gonna play whole notes first. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then you're gonna play quarter notes. 1 and 3 and 4 and 1. Then you're gonna play half notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and you're gonna keep switching between these. Then eighth notes, right? And then triplets. Back to eighth notes. Back to whole notes. And then you can also do this on F, of course. 1 and 2 and half notes. You can also use swing rhythms that I also cover in my other guides. Okay, like this one or this one. Just doing these over an extended period of time really gonna train your hand independence, but you have to vary with the rhythms. So you have to use different ones not stick to one, because otherwise you're training the familiar, which is what we don't want. We want to train the unfamiliar. We want to make mistakes. We want to get pulled out of the rhythm so that we realize it and can go back into it. So you want to do new rhythms with the right hand, same left hand baseline over and over. Now, when you're doing this, when you're doing my course module in the description, or if you maybe do it in Boogie Woogie Mastery, then you're going to also be told to do it slowly. I'm going to guide you through, but if you're just doing it from this video, do it very, very slow, right? Like this. 1 and 2 and 3. Like half notes, right? This tempo. Because you need to practice hand independence, feel every note almost, right? Individually first, before you can feel them as a singular thing, that baseline as a singular entity, so to say, right? So yeah, doing specific exercises and hard focusing on one exercise. So just that exercise, to not neglect your hand independence, to avoid that mistake, do that exercise for a whole week, every day, 20 minutes. It might be very boring, but you know, it's the price you pay for trying to learn this on your own, right? Because you have to do all of the figuring out yourself, and I guess it's the price you pay to become a really good Boogie Woogie player. Which you can do with these exercises. So take one exercise, I'll link it in the description, and hard focus on it, and really make it a note, like write it on your desktop, on your piano. Hand independence, non-negotiable, 10 minutes a day, right? Just one exercise for that, and slow down the independence exercise and also your practicing. And yeah, that leads me to the third thing to avoid this mistake. The third thing you can do to avoid the neglecting hand independence, I want you to play your boogie, basically, whatever you've rehearsed and practiced so far. So if you go through my courses, maybe you can play the swing rhythm, and maybe the first riff that I teach, right? Now what I want you to do to practice your hand independence and not neglect it is to not always play this the same. You know, when you're jamming, when you're not learning new stuff, when you're just playing your old stuff and practicing it, try to really change it up deliberately. Almost extreme, like this. You could go like this, right? You're playing how you learned it, so you're playing from memory, and you want to get out of the memory mode. So you're going to stop, and you're going to jump again, and in here. One octave down again, right? You're going to stop completely. Do one up here. Back down. And you're going to see you're going to make mistakes when you're doing this, because you're going out of the memory mode and into the hand independence practice mode, basically. Because doing the memory thing doesn't train your hand independence. Just playing the same thing over and over. You need to constantly face new challenges so that you keep climbing that ladder of resistance with your hand independence. All right, so any riff or chords that you have, you can just play one. Each chord note very random. And when you're doing this, you don't really want anyone to listen, because it's just going to be practice. And really go crazy creative here. Very random things with the rhythm and your chords, and just try to keep it as steady as possible, that left hand. So that's the third thing that you have to do with your practice time, to not neglect hand independence. I know this might seem tedious and boring in the beginning, but trust me, it's going to be so worth it, because overcoming hand independence is, you know, one of the three main factors that you need to make consistently fast and efficient progress in your journey of learning Boogie Woogie. And I know that's what you want, you know, because you're already deciding to educate yourself with a YouTube video here, which is not what most people do. You know, most people decide to waste their time. So you're probably already a top 1 or 10% student just deciding to like learn today. So that's amazing. I'm really happy that you took the choice to invest your time like that. For your passion, you know, and for this goal that you have to learn Boogie Woogie, which is awesome. Especially, you know, usually I work with like older people, like between 50 and 80, or like 40 and 80. So I love seeing like a new hobby being picked up also, you know, in a an older age, that's something that I admire, that I want to do as well when I'm a little older, like for things that aren't piano, like new hobbies, like the piano is maybe for you. But yeah, so great job. That's the first mistake. I'll leave everything in the description for you to check out. And let's get to the second mistake that most beginners make, that you have to avoid if you want to, not make slow progress and frustrate yourself and feel like you're the problem, when it's really just these simple mistakes that you need some help with. Before we get into the second mistake, I quickly want to mention that I have a one-to-one program where I teach these things like Boogie Woogie, everything about Boogie Woogie, to my students. And I currently have a lot of students that I teach, so there's not many spots free. So click the link in the description if you do want to check it out, because I have a deal going on for the next 3 students, and it might really be something that would help you a lot, gain a lot of clarity, gain a lot of momentum, enjoyment, motivation, because I have over 100 courses. I have a lot of resources to help you, like audio files just for the things that you need to practice, plus sheet music if you do read sheet music. And of course, you're going to have live calls with me, so that I can correct your technique and you can ask me questions. I can help you set you on the right path and get your progress and your speed of learning up. I just wanted to mention it in case that's something that you want. But if not, no problem. It's in the description. First link, check it out. And let's get into the second mistake that most beginners make. The second mistake that most beginners make is a lack of rhythm and timing, or an inconsistent rhythm and timing. All right. So what I mean is, for example, when you're playing a boogie, see what I mean? So the inconsistent rhythm, guys, trust me on this, it's a killer of your potential on the piano. Because what happens when you're doing inconsistent rhythms while practicing is, some parts of your practice, you probably know this, some riffs, something you can play very good and fast and without mistakes. But then other parts you can't play at all. So you have the tempo from something that you can play really well, leading into the part where you can't play it really well, but you still have the tempo from the thing that you can play really well. And that leads to a bunch of issues like rhythmic inconsistencies when you're playing, and also more mistakes because you're too fast, less hand independence, less accuracy because you're ingraining wrong notes that you're hitting because you were too fast for the hard part. So to get rid of this rhythmic inconsistency, 2 things, all right? So first of all, for example, you're learning a whole new riff, like this. Let's say this is a new one for you. Let's say it's super new when you're playing it, and you have to play it like this, like each note, which is a great practicing tempo, right? Let's say you have to play it like this. And if you're just practicing the riff without leading into it, even that you need to play as slow. Each note, the whole rhythm needs to be the steady tempo of the section that's the hardest for you. You have to do so that you can play it steadily, right? So for example, if you can play these fast, but this you have to slow down for. I don't want you to do this. You see what I mean? I have a steady tempo, but these, I can play these fast because they're easy, and then I just speed up. I never want to do this. See that? I'm totally missing the consistent tempo. Instead, I want to play each the same tempo, so steady tempo, right? And how do you get this? Well, just by slowing down in general, being aware of it, and also putting on a backing track. And that's what we're going to look at right now. So the backing tracks, I'm going to put you a link in the description where you can find backing tracks. So my favorite playlists, you're just going to put them on speaker somewhere, and I recommend 60 BPM. You can choose all of the BPMs. That's the tempo, beats per minute. You're gonna choose 60 for slow practicing, maybe even 50 for slow practicing, okay? I have a metronome here. You can also use a metronome, but to develop a steady rhythm and avoid this mistake, a backing track is just more fun, all right? So you're gonna put it on 60. I'm gonna demonstrate. So we got 60. Right? 1, 2. So you have 8. Remember to swing. And this way, you're always going to be in the same rhythm, alright? And now, the good thing about a metronome is that when you get pulled out of the rhythm, oh, I'm out of it, you have a helping aid to pull you back in, right? So instead of doing guesswork or you play faster and you don't notice it, which happens as well, you have this to guide you. So it's kind of like meditation. You catch your mind wandering instead of being like, oh damn, my mind wandered. It shouldn't do that. No, you're happy it wandered because then you can pull it back. Same with this metronome. You're happy that you're playing too fast or too slow. Keep the steady rhythm because the metronome can help you to realize that, and then you can be happy to pull it back because that's how you practice a steady rhythm and timing, right? So when you're practicing, just practice your riffs, your boogie, your bass line. You can do it separately, like just the bass line, just the riffs, or all together through the 12-bar blues progression with the metronome or the backing track. And the backing track is better because then you have a nice accentuated beat on 2 and 4, which is the backbeat of Boogie Woogie anyway, right? So it's even more effective. You can also do that with a metronome, but it might be a little complicated for you, so we're gonna leave that. So just put your metronome on 60 or the backing track on 60 and practice with that to develop a steady, consistent, fluid rhythm feeling and timing. All right, very, very important. And as you get better, you can gradually increase the tempo, of course, and slow down all of your other areas of practice to the point where it's the lowest tempo you need for the hardest thing that you're playing, right? Apply that to all of the session, that tempo. Okay, so I hope you got that. If you have any questions, by the way, leave a comment or join my program Boogie Woogie Mastery, so you can ask them to me right away, one-to-one. That's the second mistake, guys. Great job on that. Those are two very, very important ones: the hand independence and the rhythm aspect. That now that you know these are very important, don't neglect them, right? Take some time to learn about them, ask me, or just use the advice from this video here to work on them actively, like isolate them, go extreme on these issues if you do have them. If you don't have the hand independence or rhythm aspect, then that's fine. But let's just move on to mistake number 3 that you should avoid if you want to save time and make good progress and sound really good. The mistake number 3: poor posture and hand position. Okay, very self-evident one almost, because of course you don't want to like play piano like this. You want to sit upright. But I'll give you a few insights from my classical training, because I'm originally a concert pianist, a classical concert pianist of 10 years. I did my full education with my mom because she was a concert pianist, and then also at a music school. So the 3 main things for good posture for the piano is your shoulders should never be raised. Never play like this, which happens to a lot of beginners when you play. Right? You don't want that. No, very relaxed, almost like you're not doing anything with your hands. Like you have your hands down here. That's kind of how you wanna go about this. So that's the shoulders, all right? The shoulders should always be relaxed, especially for boogie, a fast music style. If you ever want to get fast, you're not going to get there by having bad posture, all right? So, and also sit right to the middle of the middle C, almost, right? You can orient yourself like that. So you have half and half in a almost perfect split, because the middle C is a little further down the piano than it is up. So you're gonna have a bit more to reach on the right hand side, but sit middle, centered from that middle C, right? So it's like at your belly button almost, the middle C. Okay? Now that's the body part. So sitting upright, straight, shoulders very relaxed and down, and not too far, not too close, and centered. Okay? So keep that in mind, maybe write it down. There's another aspect that's more important though. The wrists, the fingers and the wrists. Now, what do you want to do if your hand gets tired? Because when your hand gets tired, it's just an indication that you have been tensing up too much. And don't stress about that, because even my hand gets tired when I'm performing or playing very fast pieces. And that's just a representation of not perfect technique. Yeah, like most people wouldn't admit this, but of course I don't have perfect technique. So when I'm practicing, I try to really focus on that lightness of my hands, which you can do by always imagining an egg in your hand. An egg, right? So an egg in the palm of your hand, right here. Or maybe have something. No, but if you have like a tennis ball, you can also do that. You can grab a tennis ball and have it here and try to play something. But let's do it without a prop. So imagine an egg in your hand. You don't want to crush the egg, right? It's kind of delicate. And you also can't really have your hand on the palm of the keyboard, right? Because you have an egg in there. So your palm should always be a little elevated. You see that in my screen. I can actually full screen it. Check it out. So we're not playing like this. Not like that. But rather. Alright, so that's the tennis ball technique. As you can see, my palm is always elevated a little, right? Even when I'm just playing a blues scale here. Same with the left hand. See that? Can't see it that well in the left hand, but same here, right? Octave, it's elevated. My shoulders are also very down, right? I'm not tensing them up, putting my hands up like this. No, it's all very relaxed, okay? So the tennis ball technique, or an egg technique. Imagine an egg in the palm of your hand, and that's how you should play most things. Now, why do we do that? Well, check it out. If you have your hand down here, where's the weight that you're going to use to play the keys? It's nowhere. You have to always be tensing up, and that's what makes your hand tired. That's the wrong piano posture. So if you don't have any weight to use to play the keys, like I'm dropping on them, then of course your hand is going to get tired. Because I'm just tensing up and using my muscles to actually hit the keys. And that leads me to the second point, right? Why we do this tennis ball thing and why we don't want to use our muscle is because we want to use the whole weight of our arm to play the keys, right? The whole weight of our arm. We want to use our body's weight to our advantage on piano. For example, if you're playing this riff, let me just go into the view here. This riff here, right? This is a very challenging riff because we're using octaves. If I would play this down here with my hand and not giving it any momentum, I have to tense up for each octave. I have to really tense up, and I'm already starting to feel my hand get tired. Now, if I put my hand up a little and I take the momentum of the weight dropping down to play, I won't need to tense anything up. I'll be very loose, right? it's fine if you then maybe hit a wrong note because you just want to practice the looseness. Right? Kind of flopping my hand around here. And same thing with the left hand, especially the bass line. You want to always, use the weight of your arm to play. I'm doing it a little extreme now, but check out some boogie woogie pianists. They all do this. It's very important to not have the tension in your hand and use each finger muscle like this, but rather try to, don't overdo it like this, but try to really use the weight of your arm to fall onto each key, okay? So those are the posture tips that I have for you, and this is a mistake you definitely want to avoid ingraining. So you want to avoid ingraining the wrong posture. It's not impossible. I've had a lot of students in my program where I help them develop better posture with like some feedback, some one-to-one tips and tricks, and just me paying attention. And then it's like in a week or 2 weeks, it's pretty much done, right? But if you're doing it on your own, you really want to take some time and set some reminders somewhere so you don't forget this while you're practicing, all right? So yeah, guys, that's the third mistake that you should avoid if you really mean business at becoming a good boogie woogie player, okay, on your journey of learning. And very important you keep this in mind. If you want additional help with that, let me know. But let's move on to the fourth mistake. This is one that you don't see that often talked about, but the fourth mistake is avoiding dynamics and expression, okay? And for boogie woogie, you have this at very specific spots. For example, you might have heard about the backbeat, right? I'm going to show you, for example, what that means. So I'll play one without backbeat. That's without a backbeat, okay? Now with one, same thing. Right? A lot more dynamics in there, and I'll cover some things about this. So for boogie woogie, the main dynamics that you want an expression is going to be the backbeat. So on 2 and 4, the notes, you're going to accentuate them, and this is for the left hand but also for the right. Check this out. So that, I don't know if you caught it, but I was accentuating a lot of times the 2 and the 4 also with my right hand, right? It makes a big difference, okay? So remember that when you're doing the left hands and the right hands to accentuate that 2 and 4 sometimes. The other thing to involve a lot of dynamics is to simply reduce the volume of the bass line here and there, right? So especially for sections where you're going down the piano down here, when you're not doing something like this, right? When you're kind of chilling down here, maybe you have just a riff up here and then you're going to go down here and then you're going to change the dynamic, right? Can't even hear myself, by the way. Hope I'm playing something nice. But yeah, so you can really slow down the volume of both hands, both of them, at some point, and kind of build yourself back up. Of course, it's a bit advanced, so when you don't even have the foundations, then it's fine to skip this part. But yeah, that's mistake number 4. So remember to accentuate some notes on the 2 and 4, especially in the left hand all notes, on the right hand some, and make the volume lower and louder at certain points when you want to create some tension, right? Now that was mistake number 4 and how to avoid it, and now we're going to get to mistake number 5 and how to avoid it. And this one is also a very important one, a quick one, because this one is not understanding the 12-bar blues structure, right? Which is what gives boogie and blues its entire structure. Like everything that you're playing comes from some variation of the 12-bar blues structure, okay? If you don't know at all what that is, we're not going to cover it in detail here. I have a lesson for that. I have a bunch of lessons for that. So I'll link them in the description. Again, you can watch it there. But the 12-bar blues structure, what I mean by neglecting this is if you've been maybe practicing for like 6 months or 3 months Boogie Woogie with me or with anyone else, or maybe you're even in my program Boogie Woogie Mastery, and you've been practicing but you've not been learning about the 12-bar blues structure and how it systemizes what you're playing, then you're missing out on a lot of clarity, right? You're missing out on a lot less destroying your brain thinking about what comes next, because it could be very simple, right? The 12-bar blues structure is the structure that we all adhere to. So once you really understand it, you're definitely going to be having an easier time learning new stuff, adding it onto the 12-bar blues structure, and having more clarity for yourself, right? Understanding this style of music more, and that'll speed up your process and your progress by a lot, right? So really take some time to watch my video in the description to understand the blues structure, and then you're going to be faster, you're going to have more fun, you're going to avoid some frustration, and you're going to have a lot more clarity, okay? So that's the 5th one, right? That's just a quick one to keep in mind. I mean, I could explain it to you here, but I want to keep it separate, so just watch that video, listen to it maybe while you're making your morning coffee. I also have some coffee here, I think. Yeah, nice. Cheers. But that's mistake number 5, and that are 5, only 5. There's many more, but I wanted to keep it to 5 mistakes that you might make or have made, that you should definitely avoid, my friend, because I've seen people ignore these mistakes, students ignore these mistakes, and it always comes back to them at the end. They always have to fix them at the end. So rather, sooner or later, rather start with the right technique. Don't run into the risk of ingraining the wrong technique by practicing the things that I'm teaching you wrongly. And that's a big risk that most people face if they don't have like a mentor or a system to guide them. So if you're not in my program, I highly suggest you watch this video a couple of times to really get all these things and take some notes, because you might think it won't be that big of a deal now in the future if you neglect these mistakes, but trust me, if you don't practice with the right technique, 3 things can happen. Either you're going to give up because you get frustrated, and not just technique, by the way, it's not just about technique, it's about knowing what to do. You either give up at some point and then regret it in 5 years when it's too late, when it's actually too late to learn this, because right now you can still learn this, you can still master this music. It doesn't matter if you're 50 or even 70, okay? You could still, if you invest 1 year, 2 years hardcore into this, you could be a fantastic boogie woogie player, right? Anything that you invest a lot of time into and energy, and you learn about it, and you have someone to help, like if it's a book or me or my videos or my program, you can do that, right? You're not gonna play like Axel Zwingberger, but you can be really good, right? So what was I saying? I was just saying that either you can give up your journey because it's too frustrating, because you've ingrained wrong technique if you don't work on this, or secondly, you make very, very slow progress instead of making very fast and efficient and enjoyable progress like you could do, you could be making if you were always aware of these and maybe had someone to look over your shoulder. And thirdly, the third thing that could happen is you're actually gonna make negative progress. As strange as that sounds, but it is a thing, it is a phenomenon that happens if you're practicing and you're making a lot of mistakes that you're unaware of. you know, because you're trying to learn it all on your own or something, then it could happen that at some point your body and your mind is so used to playing the wrong stuff that you're actually going to go into negative progress from then on, because you're practicing things in a bit of a wrong way. Now, this is an exception, but if you think this might apply to you, then you know, I hope you do something to work on that. But I don't think this applies to most of you, because most of you watching are probably some of the best students out there, because you're already deciding to watch a video like this, educate yourself. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you take these serious, and if you genuinely want help noticing these, and you don't want to end up leading into these and regretting it later on, I do that, right? There's no other program for Boogie and Blues that does this one-to-one live constant attention feedback with all of my 100+ courses and sheet music and community section where you can chat with other students. And it's a really nice thing that I've built. And you know, if you want to get that while it's still available, the one-to-one, you can join right now for the deal that I still have for the next 3 students, because then you don't run into the risk of ingraining the wrong technique. You're always going to be practicing with the correct technique and the correct things, and you could potentially be saving years or even your whole passion, your whole journey. You could be saving if you do join Boogie Woogie Mastery. So check it out below. Click the link and just see what it is. Maybe it is perfect for you, and if yes, then I'll see you in there. I would love to get to know you. Maybe you can tell me you came from this video, and if not, then check out my other videos. They will also help you, and stay, you know, perspicacious and keep reflecting on your own playing, okay? And then you're gonna be fine as well. So I hope you had a great time here. I'm gonna go to my driving school now because I have to redo my license. Yeah, went a little bit too fast, guys, but I hope you enjoyed this, and leave a like and a comment as well. Subscribe for more of these tutorials if you're not subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.